Radiation and man. Facts that everyone should know. Introduction. Radiation, a word that causes anxiety and fear. An invisible, intangible, but enormously powerful energy. Let's discover the mysterious world of radiation together. Get acquainted with its different facets, learn about its amazing properties, and how it affects our world. What is it? Radiation is a set of radiations capable of ionizing a substance, thereby causing it to spontaneously disintegrate atoms. As you know, molecules are made of atoms, and all matter, including organs and tissues, is made of molecules. Therefore, radiation is dangerous. A huge dose of radiation, for example, in the epicenter of a nuclear explosion, provokes instantaneous disintegration into microparticles. Smaller ones act pointwise, causing gene mutations and other pathological processes. There are two main types of radiation. One, ionizing radiation, has enough energy to knock electrons out of atoms, making them ions. This can lead to damage to cells and even genetic structures. Ionizing radiation includes alpha, beta, and gamma radiation, as well as neutron radiation. To non-ionizing radiation does not have enough energy to ionization of atoms. This type of radiation includes radio waves, infrared radiation, visible light, and ultraviolet radiation. Natural radiation background. We live in a world that is riddled with radiation. The natural radiation background exists long before the appearance of man and is an integral part of our planet. 1. Cosmic radiation. It accounts for about 13% of all human exposure to radiation. There are many sources of radiation in interstellar space. Sometimes radioactive rays penetrate the Earth's magnetic field. The higher the sea level is, the stronger the radiation effect. There is less and less air acting as a protective layer. High doses can be received by passengers of airplanes that fly frequently and over long distances. 2. Radon. People are exposed to natural radon gas. It appears after the decay of uranium in the soil. The gas is colorless and odorless. People may not know for years that they are inhaling this substance. The gas lies deep underground, but sometimes gets into the external environment. This happens during the so-called tectonic fault, a crack in the Earth's crust. 3. Soils. About 16% of all cases of radiation occur in contact with the soil. A person touches it with his hands or inhales dust in which the radioactive metals potassium, uranium, thorium, and others are present. Economic activity is one of the main reasons for their appearance. The concentration of natural radionuclides increases due to technological processes. These are mining, processing, storage of minerals, production and application of fertilizers, burning coal at thermal power plants. Radioactive waste settles on the soil. 4. The human body. Man is also a bit radioactive. The composition of body tissues includes radionuclides in small doses, and they cannot be disposed of. There are only 2 of them. These are potassium-40 and carbon-14, the so-called radiocarbon. They do not cause harm to health. Historical examples. Radiation allows you to literally see through people. But not immediately people realized how to use it and how dangerous it can be. Historical examples. Water with radium, chocolate with radium, play sets for children, cosmetics, and other similar products. The case of the so-called radium girls, factory workers in the USA, who painted the watch faces with luminous radium paints, gained special resonance. Misled by the management of the company, the workers received a lethal dose of radiation, licking the tips of brushes with radium paint to restore their shape and for fun painting their nails and teeth with a luminous substance. Inevitably, this led to unfortunate consequences. It is still unknown exactly how many workers suffered irreparable harm to their health and how many died due to exposure to radiation. Radiation, however, was used for a long time even for entertainment purposes, for example, at fairs, where everyone was offered the opportunity to look through their hand. Today, radiation serves a person for other purposes. It is used in medicine and industry, sterilization of products, and electricity generation. Unlike natural sources of radiation, Artificial radioactivity has arisen and is spread exclusively by human forces. The main man-made radioactive sources include nuclear weapons, industrial waste, nuclear power plants, medical equipment, antiques taken out of the forbidden zones after the Chernobyl accident, some precious stones. One medical examination, X-ray, MRI, ultrasound. All these procedures use radiation to diagnose various diseases. Recently, nuclear medicine has become widespread. This is a set of procedures involving the introduction of radioactive substances into the body in order to investigate the structure or function of an organ. For the treatment of malignant and benign tumors, it is used radiotherapy. The whole body is exposed to ionizing radiation. Another method, brachytherapy, involves placing metal or sealed radioactive sources inside the body. 2. Nuclear reactors. This is the name of the equipment that releases energy. This is due to a special chemical reaction, the fission of uranium nuclei. It can be used to generate electricity in nuclear power plants. This is a highly environmentally friendly way to generate energy without toxic waste. The production of electricity by nuclear power plants raises many questions. When functioning normally, it makes a small contribution to global radiation exposure. But disaster happens when force majeure occurs at the enterprise. This happened in 1986 during the explosion of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. And UCLER power plant? The consequences of the disaster are still being felt, even though 35 years have passed. Interesting facts about radiation. The most radioactive fruit is a banana. Bananas contain a lot of potassium isotopes. However, no one can eat as many of these fruits as they need to earn radiation sickness in 10 lifetimes for some time after the discovery of radium. This element was used in the preparation of some beverages. However, its dangerous properties were quickly investigated. The flags that the American astronauts left on the moon will remain standing in a vacuum forever, but due to solar radiation, they will fade and turn white. Radioactive granite was used in the construction of Grand Central Station in New York. At that time, radiation was not yet known. As a result, the station building emits a more powerful radioactive background than the average nuclear power plant. Coal-fired thermal power plants emit more radiation into the atmosphere than nuclear power plants. Contrary to popular belief, cockroaches are not capable of surviving a nuclear war. Back in 1950, a children's set atomic energy laboratory was sold in the United States, which included several pieces of uranium ore. In very rare cases, the iris of the eyes can change color from exposure to radiation. The crew of a nuclear submarine receives a lower dose of radiation than the average person on the surface. The reason for this is the protective effect the water column and a lower background radiation underwater than on land. Unprocessed uranium or practically does not emit radiation. Currently, there are no protective suits capable of at least temporarily neutralizing the effects of radiation exposure by 100%. The sarcophagus that covers the exploded fourth power unit of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, it's slowly falling apart. If it finally collapses, it can provoke a serious environmental disaster. On September 24, 2004, the strongest stream of radioactive material hit the Earth. Radiation for the whole history. The reason was the explosion of a star located 50,000 light-years away, which happened about 50,000 years ago. During this time, the ejection reached us and covered the Earth, but the atmosphere protected us. Astronauts sometimes see bright flashes with their eyes closed. This effect causes cosmic radiation to bombard the retina of the eye. Soybeans planted in the Chernobyl exclusion zone have adapted over time and developed protection against radiation. A strong dose of radiation is not capable of causing long-term mutations. This is a myth. Mutations that are fixed in offspring can only be caused by long, from generation to generation, but weak radiation. The average resident of a modern megalopolis emits more radiation than his mobile phone indoors. The radiation background is about twice as high as outdoors. Concrete walls help to reduce the amount of radiation received from the outside, but they accumulate it, as a result of which they themselves begin to emit. Conclusion: radiation is an invisible force that shapes our universe and affects our lives. Understanding its nature, properties, and application is necessary to ensure the safety of mankind and the preservation of the environment. It is important to use radiation responsibly, minimizing risks and maximizing its potential for the progress of science, technology, and medicine.